Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari started the Formula One preseason testing in a way that left us with more questions than answers. The first few days of testing are always tricky to analyze because teams rarely reveal their true pace. Hamilton was one of the most watched drivers on the track. His first runs looked smooth, but the lap time suggested something different. This led to speculation about whether Ferrari was struggling or simply hiding their true performance, a tactic known as sandbagging. Hamilton completed multiple runs on the first day of testing, with each session giving a slightly different picture. Some moments showed him comfortable in the car, adjusting well to Ferrari's handling, while other moments suggested he was still getting used to the new machine. His entry into turn 10 varied a lot, which could mean he was trying different techniques to understand the best approach. At times, he rode the inner curb, while on other laps, he avoided it completely. This kind of experimentation is normal in testing, especially for a driver switching teams after more than a decade with the same car philosophy. Ferrari appeared competitive on the surface, but when compared to Red Bull, things became less clear. Liam Lawson, driving for Red Bull, had an incredibly smooth and consistent run through turn 10. His car looked stable, while Hamilton's Ferrari seemed more unpredictable. But testing is not just about raw speed. Fuel loads, tire choices, and different testing programs can all create misleading lap times. As the first day went on, Hamilton started facing more challenges. He locked up into turn 8, ran wide at turn 10, and even had a moment at turn 4 where he dropped a wheel into the gravel. These small mistakes showed that he was pushing the limits, but also struggling with the car's front-end grip. This is not unusual in testing, especially when conditions change throughout the day. The wind direction shifted multiple times, affecting how drivers approached key corners. Early in the session, there was a headwind into turn 10, but later, it turned into a crosswind. This kind of change can impact how a car behaves, making it harder for drivers to get consistent lap times. Hamilton was not the only one having difficulties. Mercedes' young talent, Kimi Antonelli, had an even tougher time. He missed apexes and suffered from major lockups, showing how tricky the conditions were. The fact that Hamilton's Ferrari did not behave as aggressively suggests that he was still in control, even if he was not yet fully comfortable. The bigger question is whether his struggles were due to the car itself or just part of his adaptation process. At the end of the first day, Hamilton was 9th fastest, while his teammate Charles Leclerc was ahead. Leclerc's pace was stronger, but without knowing the fuel loads and tyre conditions, it is impossible to say whether Hamilton was genuinely slower or just running a different program. Some teams might run their cars heavier with fuel to simulate race conditions, while others might do short runs to set fast lap times. Another factor that played into the results was track temperature. Bahrain is usually known for its hot conditions, but the first day of testing was surprisingly cool. This meant that track conditions did not change as much as they normally do, making it harder for teams to gain an advantage just by running at the right time of day. Since Hamilton drove during a period when the track was slightly slower, his lap times might not reflect his true speed. Despite the mid-table lap times, there were positive signs. Hamilton's driving looked smooth at times, and his adjustments lap after lap suggested that he was learning quickly. The key takeaway from testing is not just the fastest times, but also how a driver and car develop over multiple days. If Ferrari was genuinely struggling, they would be making major setup changes to fix issues. But if they were sandbagging, then the true performance will only be revealed when the real racing begins. This kind of secrecy is not unusual in Formula One. Teams often hide their real pace to avoid giving rivals too much information. Red Bull has done this in the past, as have Mercedes and Ferrari. If Ferrari is indeed playing this game, then Hamilton's slower times might be a strategic move rather than a sign of problems. The real test will come in the final days of preseason, when teams start running qualifying-style laps with lower fuel and softer tyres. One of the biggest adjustments for Hamilton will be understanding how Ferrari handles long runs. Over a race distance, tyre management is crucial, and every team approaches it differently. Hamilton's style at Mercedes was built around a car that excelled in race pace, but Ferrari has historically been more aggressive in qualifying. If Ferrari has not fixed their long-run weaknesses, then Hamilton might face challenges when it comes to managing tyre wear over a Grand Prix. Another unknown is how well Ferrari's strategy team will work with Hamilton. In past seasons, Ferrari has made some questionable calls in races, sometimes costing their drivers valuable positions. Hamilton, known for his ability to make smart tactical decisions on the track, will need Ferrari to improve in this area if they want to fight for wins consistently. Testing does not reveal much about strategy, but the way Ferrari operates in these early sessions could give hints about their approach for the season. Looking at the competition, Red Bull still seems like the team to beat. Their car appeared stable and well-balanced, and even with different drivers in the seat, the performance remained strong. This suggests that their dominance from last season might continue. If Ferrari wants to challenge them, they will need to bring upgrades and improvements quickly. Testing is just the beginning, and the first few races will show whether they have truly closed the gap. Mercedes also had an interesting start to testing. While they did not show any major issues, there were signs that they might still be behind Red Bull. If Mercedes struggles again this season, Hamilton's move to Ferrari might prove to be a smart decision in the long run. But if Mercedes finds unexpected speed, then the fight between them and Ferrari will become even more exciting. Ferrari also seemed to have some balance issues to fix. The car initially had understeer, but when Charles Leclerc took over for the afternoon session, it appeared to have too much oversteer. This suggests that the team made adjustments to correct the balance, but may have gone too far. However, this is common in pre-season testing, and there is no reason to be overly concerned. The main takeaway is that Hamilton is still adapting to the Ferrari, which is very different from the Mercedes he drove for over a decade. He admitted that there was no common ground between the two cars, which means he has to learn everything from scratch. Despite that, his hunger for success has not faded. One of the most interesting aspects of Hamilton's transition to Ferrari is how he has customized his steering wheel. In Formula 1, the steering wheel is more than just a device for turning the car. It is filled with buttons and switches that control various aspects of the car's performance. After 12 years with Mercedes, Hamilton had developed habits based on the layout of his old steering wheel. Moving to Ferrari meant he had to adjust to a completely different setup, and he wasted no time in making changes to suit his preferences. Now, before you leave, just don't forget to comment down your thoughts on this. And while you're down there, make sure to smash that subscribe button for more upcoming updates.